coming out to hear me speak today. I don't know where I'm taking you yet, believe it or not. Spirit does work in mysterious ways, I will say this. All week I've been trying to figure out what I was going to talk about. There were a few functions I was at and said to a few people, I don't know, do you have any suggestions as to what I should be talking about today? No, you can talk about this, you can talk about that. And it's interesting because I woke up this morning and Spirit said to me, I need you to go to this book. And I went, okay. This is not a book that I typically read from up here. It's very Christian based. Although I'm a wonderful believer in other religions, I have to tell you, because it's really all the same thing, but it's just in a different context, okay? So I have lots of different books on different religions, Kabbalah, Quran, Catholicism, Christian. Anyway, they directed me to this book, and this book is called Be Happy Attitudes, and it's by Dr. Robert Schuller, who happens to be an actual wonderful speaker in my personal opinion. Anyway, although he's in a little bit of trouble these days, but that's another story. Anyway, they brought me to chapter 4, and it says, I really want to do the right thing. And I almost broke down in tears when I saw this, and I went, okay, I hear you. So with this one, because it's more of a Christian-based book, they always give a Bible quote that goes with this. And it says, blessed are those who hunger and thirst after righteousness, for they shall be satisfied. And that's Matthew 5:6. I thought, okay, here we go. A lot of my path, and some of you know this and some of you don't, a lot of my path, I've been actually raised in spiritualism. Believe it or not, I was actually baptized in a United Church to begin with. But as far as I can remember since I was a kid, Mom always took me to Spiritualist Foundations, Spiritualist Church, organization, group, meditation. It was always spiritualist, which for me is such a blessing because it always gave me the opportunity to put the spin on my life and my belief systems the way I needed to believe it at the time, which I think is wonderful for our personal and soul growth, okay? Because that's really what we're here for. Anyway, so as I carried on in my life, I grew up thinking that this organization or the church or whatever you want to call it was always about love and giving. And I've watched it struggle my entire life. I've watched it struggle and struggle and struggle, much like I watch other people struggle or myself struggle or my family. You know, it's all about the growth and the learning. And so it's interesting because I'm now looking at how we as an organization and a foundation are trying to help people move forward, and yet we're not taking care of our own. And I'm not okay with this. I'm going to stand here right now and tell you I'm not okay with this. But I wonder where we're supposed to be getting our inspiration from. How come we're not sharing? How come we're not growing? How come we're not loving? How come we're not taking care of each other? What happened? Okay? What happened? Now, I understand that there's quite a few people. Even now, our congregation's a little less than it was. And I understand that, but I think it's interesting because recently, and speaking as a board member, I've been struggling in how I can help our foundation move forward. Isn't it interesting that I'm bringing this up? Isn't it interesting? Anyway, so I've been struggling on a soul growth level. How can I help? How can I, and I'm not putting myself on a pedestal, please don't misunderstand. But, you know, I take a lot of responsibility for the role that I lead. And even as I was sitting in prayer before I started to speak, I said, you know, dear Lord, please allow me to be the proper shepherd to help my flock move forward. Let me guide them on the path. Well, isn't it interesting that they direct me to this Be Happy Attitude book and the righteousness? So let me get to that. So in here, there was a couple of things that really struck my fancy. So hang on to your hats, ladies and gents. So, in here, there's a quote by Mother Teresa. And it was on one of her early visits to America. And she says, in India, people are dying of physical starvation. In America, people are dying of emotional starvation, right? So we're turning off our feelings, we're turning off our soul, we're turning off our core being, which is very painful, I might say. Why are so many of us in a constant, restless pursuit of something more? Something is missing, and we vaguely but strongly suspect, even when things are going well for us, that something is missing. And I think that's part and parcel of us turning our backs on not just religion, because I don't want to talk religion to you guys. You guys have your own beliefs on religion, and you understand what our foundation is about, our principles, our 7 principles. But it's more about us. You know, we're not recognizing each other as sparks of God. This is who I am. This is who you are. But we're really one. Okay? So it's frustrating for me. And isn't it interesting that I find myself now at the age of 32 in a leadership role, which I never wanted to be here. I stamped my feet. I pushed it back. I didn't want to do this. I was okay. I'll support you. I'll support you. I'll support you. And then, what was it, 2 years ago? I was literally thrown into this role. There was a lot of disruption. There was a lot of change. And we're standing at each other. I remember strictly standing in my mother's kitchen going, who's going to lead us? Where are we going? And how are we going to get there? And I went, okay, I'll do it. And I couldn't believe I said I would do it. I could not believe I said I would do it. But I'm here, and I'm trying, and I am trying. So when Spirit came to me and said to me this morning, you need to read this, I need to read it to you, and I apologize because it is a little long, but bear with me. So this is written by Dr. Schuller, and it's about a friend of his. So it says, I have a friend in the entertainment business. His name is Hugh O'Brien. He was a famous actor who played a legendary lawman, Wyatt Earp, on television. Hugh was far more fortunate than other friends. Hugh had a way of saying it that I love. He said, I found out very early in my business that no matter who you are and no matter what business you're in, all of us go through 5 stages in life. Let me put it to you this way. The first stage is, who is Hugh O'Brien? Okay. This is where you begin your journey, when you sow the seeds for success. The second is, get me Hugh O'Brien. This is when you have your first taste of success. The third stage is, get me a Hugh O'Brien type. That's when you're really successful, when you're at the top of the ladder, and when they can't afford you, but they want somebody like you. The fourth stage is, get me a young Hugh O'Brien. We all grow old, and we'll all go through the fourth stage. As it depends on how you handle it, stay active and productive during this period. Maintain a purpose. The fifth stage is, who is Hugh O'Brien? Now, no matter who we are, we all begin at stage 1, and we're all going to wind up eventually at stage 5. Back where we came from, all the success and the money in the world won't buy you more tomorrows when your time has come. Consequently, it's what you do between stage 1 and stage 5 that makes the difference in your life. It's extremely important early on to develop projects, hobbies, and an avocation that keeps you active. That way, no matter what stage you're at, you can have a purpose-filled life. Hugh O'Brien's purpose, his magnificent obsession, is a program he founded called the Hugh O'Brien Youth Foundation. Its purpose is to simply seek out, recognize, and reward leadership potential in high school sophomores and provide an annual state and international leadership seminars for these future leaders. The idea for the program was inspired after Hugh spent 9 days in 1958 with Dr. Albert Schweitzer in Lambertine, Africa. The profound experience deeply affected Hugh. One of Dr. Schweitzer's statements especially struck home. Dr. Schweitzer said, "The most important thing in education is to make young people think for themselves." Oh, spiritualism right there. He also told Hugh, everybody has the ability to create his own Lamborghini. Everyone has the ability to be a teacher of tomorrow, to teach young people about their potential and how to use it. As a result of Dr. Schweitzer's influence, Hugh O'Brien developed this program aimed at motivating high school sophomores. The purpose of the program is to teach this age group not only how to dream, but how to bring their dreams to reality. As Hugh put it, most people are preoccupied in sending delinquents to camp. The great majority of our youth are positive, but we only hear about the negative minority. I figured it was time to pat the good guys and gals on the back and show them that there are rewards for being responsible members of the community. I believe that our young people are our greatest natural resource in this country has, and we have a tremendous untapped leadership potential among the high school students of our great America. In this program, all we're trying to do is to give these young people an opportunity to ask their questions and to find out the realities of life and business are all about. We want to equip them beyond teaching them the ABCs. We want to help them dream. I love what I'm doing. I have a pretty realistic philosophy. I would like to share it with you, as I have with thousands of young people who have participated in our seminars. It's called The Freedom to Choose. I do not believe that we are all created equal. Physical and emotional differences, parental guidance, and varying enrollment environments, being in the right place at the right time, all play a role in enhancing or limiting our development. But I do believe that every man or woman, if given the opportunity and the encouragement to recognize his or her potential, regardless of the background, has the freedom to choose in our world. Will an individual be a taker or a giver in life? Will he be satisfied merely to exist, or will he seek a meaningful purpose? I believe every person is created as a steward of his or her own destiny, with great power for a specific purpose to share with others, through service, a reverence for life, in the spirit of love. Through his program, Hugh O'Brien and his volunteers have put their arms around more than 1 million young people. Hugh O'Brien is satisfied. Well, maybe not, but fortunately he's still reaching for the sky. His satisfaction didn't come merely through fame, from being John Wayne or whomever it was on TV. It came from having a purpose, from giving back to our country that he loves, through doing something worthwhile and never counting the cost. For Hugh does not get paid for this work. He is the ultimate volunteer. Do you know that all of your board members are volunteer? Do you know that the pastor, the leader of this foundation, is by volunteer? Do you know this? I don't know that everyone knows this. It's a calling and it's a purpose, and some of us have tapped into it and some of us haven't. But it's interesting, when we start to trust the process, and Mom speaks about this all the time, trust the process, our life starts changing. For example, in my own life, it took me 10 years. I sat on the board for I don't know how many years before this. And I've always been open about my mediumship, but I didn't project my mediumship. I didn't necessarily go out and go, I'm a medium, right? Because people weren't ready for it back then. They're getting better now, I must say. But even in my own life, I fought the process for 10 years, guys. I get it. I know where we're at. And it is scary. I'm petrified that I'm going to make the wrong decision or go down the wrong path. But I have to tell you something. I have faith that the path is going to lead me to the lessons I know I need to learn. And when I know I need to learn that lesson, and when it comes to me, I say, thank you for the blessing. I'll figure it out, leave it in my hands. Okay? I hope that makes sense to you. We're all working together. And it's interesting because you have moments of satisfaction, you have moments of gratitude, and you have moments of, oh my God, you really trust me this much? We do have these things. We do absolutely have these things. There's something else I really wanted to read to you today, and hopefully you'll bear well. I'm sure you'll bear with me for one more moment. And it talks about this secret of satisfaction. And it says, satisfaction, happiness, and fulfillment are all elusive, fleeting as shadows. And when we search for them through fame, success, power, or sexual gratification, we won't find them. How can we find satisfaction? Jesus said, blessed are those who hunger and thirst for righteousness, for they shall be satisfied. In this powerful sentence, Jesus shows us how we can satisfy the heart's deepest hunger and its deepest longing. Jesus says that the way to satisfaction and happiness lies in seeking righteousness. So the question then becomes, what is righteousness? Righteousness is not merely avoiding temptation successfully, although I really wish it was. I've got that part down mostly. It goes beyond that. Allow me to quote from the book Self-Esteem, The New Reformation. We all know people who do not lie, kill, steal, commit adultery, and yet they live a life of ease, comfort, and non-involvement. They appear to be kind and gentle, and we are tempted to judge them to be loving people. But real love is a sacrificial commitment. Until these good people set God-glorifying goals, they are making no potentially creative and constructive commitments. They're not putting themselves out there. If they take no daring risk and mission, they are good, but for what? So the call to act is really here. Righteousness is not absolute holiness or perfection either. I don't believe that Jesus is saying that a person who has incurable compulsion to holy living will be really satisfied. Well, that's absolutely true. If we had to live perfect holy lives in order to be satisfied, we would be the most miserable of human beings because we all make many mistakes. We all commit sins. None of us is going to be perfect. It is true that we do make mistakes, but we can ask for forgiveness. Is this the path to righteousness? Yes. Real repentance, or asking for forgiveness, is a positive, dynamic, highly motivated redirection, reaffirming of life. To a caring, risky trust To a caring, risky trust which promises the hope of glory through noble human need-fulfilling achievements. If the slate is washed clean of guilt, I am only half forgiven. I'm not fully forgiven until I allow God to write his new dream for my life on the blackboard of my mind. So this again is about the trusting part. So it comes back to having a happy attitude. And having an unhappy attitude will drain you of your enthusiasm. The quotes of, I am nothing, I am worthless, or I am not good. Righteousness and positivity will not come from these things. Positivity will come from affirmations like, I'm sorry I didn't believe in God's dreams. From now on I will. I'm sorry for not loving myself as much as God does. From now on, I will remember that God loves me, and I will try to love me too. I'm sorry I was selfish and that I surrendered to the fear of failure. This is me right here, you guys. I didn't want people to laugh at me. From now on, I will attempt to do something great for God. I now commit myself to righteousness. I will do the right thing. I will respond to the dreams that God gives me, even if they seem impossible. So it's about trusting the process for sure. There's a couple other positive affirmations I would like to read to you that you may want to hang on to. They're very simple. I am a child of God. Period. End of statement. I am God's idea, and God only has good ideas. I want to do it. I can do it, and I will do it. I'm going to take chances. When you say yes, you will be living and trusting in God's promises. When you attempt the impossible, you will discover that you will be filled with the excitement, the enthusiasm, energy, youth, and happiness. Righteousness is attempting to accomplish something beautifully possible. Win or lose, the attempt will build your self-esteem, which is very true, actually. Success or fail, you can be sure of this. You will be able to live with yourself and not be ashamed, which means that you can be proud that you tried. That is the joy, that is the deep satisfaction, that is the great reward. Now, with that being said, this was my inspiration for today. And I hope that it helps you to look at your life in a positive way, thinking about the things that you need to do forward to help you move yourself forward, your families forward, your community forward, and spiritualism forward. So often we forget, and years ago I did a lecture about, I'm a spiritualist, and what the difference of that is between that and other religions. And we're so scared, spiritualists, to say that we're spiritualists. And I'm not understanding why anymore. I'm sure at some point I did. But it's probably because of all the amount of work I've been doing recently. But I really like to get you to look at your life and see, what am I doing to help my belief system move forward? What am I doing to help me move forward? And how can I improve this? Because I tell you, a life of service, although it seems very heavy sometimes, it's actually more rewarding than I can even explain. Anyway, I'll leave that with you. I say God bless. Thank you so much for allowing me to speak today.